everyone, in today's video I'll be introducing to you Strongman, Going Commando. Because when you go Commando, it's all about going without. And in this program, you'll learn how to train for Strongman in a commercial gym using just your standard, typical gym equipment. Nothing fancy, no specialty bars, just you, creativity, and necessity. Make sure to find me over on Instagram, Coach Mark Estrabio, and I offer one-to-one coaching. I do it full-time. If that's something you'd be interested in, the odds are very good. I'd love to work with you. Without further ado, let's do further. Now, with any program, especially one of this nature, this is not going to replace having implement access, especially if you've got access to a great strongman crew. I think a good hype squad, also having people help you do with the breakdown and setup for the events, it makes a big difference in the quality of training. But like most things in life, we operate on a good, better, best continuum, and this is certainly going to operate a lot better than taking a typical powerlifting program and just splashing in some overhead press. This would also be really good for someone who's just looking to build some size, strength, as well as conditioning to go with it. Ultimately, Strongman is pretty general training. It's just taken to the absolute most ludicrous extremes. So whether you just want to take all the groceries in one run or you feel like running around with 300 pounds in each hand for a farmer's walk, this just might be the program for you. If you've been around the channel for any amount of time, you're probably very familiar with the split I'm about to show you. It is a 4-day split where you'll have a lower and upper intensive days. This is how I replace max effort days in my take on the conjugate method. And as the CEO of Conjugate, thank you Reddit, that's where I got the title. It works because I said so. And then your developmental days replace your dynamic effort days. And the idea with this is you're going to have lower, upper. And you could certainly change around the training days if you prefer a different order. This is just how I have it set up. I'll also show you how to do this as a 3-day program if you're someone who needs or prefers a more condensed training week. With your lower intensive day, we're focusing on deadlift. Upper intensive, we're focusing on pressing. Lower developmental day, this is going to be your squat and leg focused day. And then your upper developmental day is sort of a push-pull, more of a muscle building emphasis day. And that's something that strongman programs in general seem to lack, at least the quality ones. Building quality muscle mass is going to make you a much better strength athlete, especially in the lighter weight classes where strength to weight ratio is going to be so very important if you want to be competitive. Carrying on from what I said earlier, this program really is a general overall developer. If you look at the sport of strongman, it's pressing, deadlifting, loading, and carrying in general. There are some other madcap events. You have grip events, throwing events. I've seen squat events done at shows, but this is going to cover 80% of the sport. Overall, we're trying to build incredible strength in the 3 to 8 rep range. Reason why is the 5 to 10 range seems to be where a lot of people wind up winning shows, but going from 3 to 8, this kind of hedges our bets. It helps you build max strength as well as repetition strength. It'll also make inroads for helping build muscle mass. And then additionally, we're going to use some special protocols to help with density in that getting a lot of work done in a short period of time, which in turn will help drive conditioning. Ultimately, you can't just technique your way to a triple bodyweight deadlift or a bodyweight strict press. So this program aims to balance all 3 needs for the strongman athlete: strength, conditioning, and muscularity. Expanding a bit on that density side of things, most every event in strongman has a time element to it. Whether it be max reps in 1 minute or performing a medley as quickly as possible, you're usually racing against the clock. I mean, there obviously are max weight events, but that being said, we want to train in such a way that we can maximize our density. So we're going to see stuff such as rest pause, we're going to see limited rest periods, and then also density sets in and of themselves, in that you'll be performing a maximum amount of sets for a fixed time interval. This increased workload will help build a wide foundation of strength for very high peaks, and if your nutrition is dialed in, it's also going to build some quality muscle mass. I do like using stuff like supersets and circuits in a lot of my programs, but because this was written for the commercial gym athlete, you're not really going to see that style of training show up. But again, good, better, best. If you are in a home gym situation, I think they can be very beneficial for you. If you've seen any of my other free programs I've put out, there's usually a menu for progressions that you're going to pick from when it comes to your accessory movements, with the main list having set progressions that I bake into the program. When it comes to choosing means and methods for your accessory work, be sensible, and when in doubt, just stick to what I've written out there. Also, towards the end of this book, there will be a little guide on helping you select some of your accessory movements for some of the smaller exercises to help tune them for better event performance come the day of. All right, now that we're all done with the introduction and setting of expectations, let's dive into the program. Day 1, lower intensive. This is your deadlift-focused training day. You're going to start with, of course, a deadlift. Now, note here, you are allowed to use straps in the sport of strongman, so use straps if necessary. And I'm also going to advocate for controlled eccentrics. This is something that I think a lot of people are missing in their deadlift training. That extra time under tension is going to help build your grip if you do go strapless, as well as build your upper back and posterior chain. I've got suggested variations for you in the suggested variations column, obviously. And in terms of how to train it, we'll hit that on the next page. But then after that, we'll do a single leg quad dominant movement of choice, whether it be Zercher lunges, Bulgarian split squats, single leg press, whatever you like. Leg curls, back extension, and then an ab series where you're going to be using a density protocol. 10 minutes, you're going to do 10 to 15 ab wheels, 10 to 20 crunches, 10 to 15 dumbbell side bends each side. Just set a timer for 10 minutes, go through that. If you get through 3 or more rounds, go heavier or add reps for next time you do this. Very simple. Now let's move into actually how we train the deadlift in this program. So you're only going to be performing 2 sets of the deadlift, but it's going to be quite grueling. Set 1, you want to load this with a weight that's a challenging set of 5 to 8. And what you're going to do is you're going to set a timer for 45 seconds, and you're going to get as many quality reps in that time frame as you can. And we want to use a 3 cluster rest pause set. So you might do 5 reps, rest 10 seconds, then you get 2 reps, you rest 10 seconds, then you gut out 1 more rep, timer goes off, you got 8 reps, which means next time you get to go heavier. The idea here is we're training you to break the floor repeatedly. In a lot of these deadlift for rep shows, you have both an up and a down command in the deadlift. So we want to make sure you're trained to break the floor from a dead stop over and over and over. And then by using that 45-second time cut, what happens there is you mentally have to just lock in and go. The timer goes, you're repping that weight. You've got 45 seconds. You might have 60 come competition day. The odds are good you're not going to use all 60 though, so we may as well train to a slightly more intensive standard. Then your second set, you're just going to drop the weight by 20% and then perform another 3 cluster rest pause set here, but there's going to be no time cut. This is just for building pure work capacity. So while it's only 2 sets on paper, you could almost see this as doing 6 overall sets of deads at fairly high intensities. And then with the deadlift, you can pick any variation you like that also makes sense based upon your goals, and you want to stick with it for somewhere around 3 to 5 weeks before rotating it out. And in terms of progression, when set 1 hits 8 or more reps, go heavier next time. Set 2 doesn't have progression as it is entirely subservient to set 1 because, again, this is just where we add a little bit of extra volume. You're going to get really good at breaking the floor repeatedly as well as setting up for a very efficient pull very fast. Lots of work in very little time, and is that not just the nature of Strongman? Now moving on to your press day, you'll have a max effort press of choice. It could be a strict press, push press, a pin overhead press, a Z press, or a 40 to 60 degree dumbbell incline. You can do any sort of barbell, dumbbell, or even a machine press here. Then after that, you're going to move into a supplemental horizontal or incline press of choice, face pulls or some sort of similar rear delt work, a supported row of choice, chest supported row machine, chest supported T-bar row, dumbbell rows, whatever you like. And we want to do this on a supported one because you deadlifted yesterday, so your low back's going to be a little bit fatigued. This helps manage recovery across the week. And then last but not least, there's going to be a tricep exercise of choice, press down skull crushers, or a rolling overhead tricep extension, which in the ebook, there will contain a link where you can see what that movement looks like. If that's something you'd be interested in, think of it as the rolling tricep extension, but overhead. Now, as far as programming for the press goes, it's going to be very similar to the deadlift, but we won't be using a rest pause method. Instead, we're going to be using a density-based approach. The reason for this is twofold. Observationally, when it comes to the press for reps in a show, conditioning is rarely the bottleneck. It's usually strength. Additionally, this will allow us for a bit more upper volume in general. This is going to help build a little more muscle mass. You know, they say win the press, win the show. Well, the best pressers tend to look like the best pressers for a reason. So you'll perform 2 primary sets. Set 1 is going to be a 4 to 6 rep max. Pretty simple operation there. Then what you're going to do is you're going to drop the weight by 15%. You're going to take 85% of set 1, and you're going to do anywhere from 4 to 8 reps at a time, just the maximum amount of reps total in 10 minutes. You should aim for 20 to 30 total reps in this density block. Don't sacrifice form, though, just to get more reps. And as long as you're getting anywhere in that rep range, you're going to be golden. You'll probably start off doing sets of 8. As time goes by, you might drop down to sets of 4. Or if you're someone like myself, I'd just rather spam sets of 4 than do multiple sets of 8. Either way, it's going to work really well for accumulating a lot of volume at a relatively high intensity, which, again, is the nature of strongman events. Moving on, we have our lower developmental / leg day. This is where we're going to do the squat of your choosing, such as an SSB, front, high bar, or Zercher squat. Feel free to use a box. You could even do these with a pause if you'd like. Then a good morning or RDL. Again, all depends on your preference and what you have access to. SSB good morning, snatch grip RDLs, or a Zercher good morning if you want to get spicy. Also, if you do happen to have access to a GHR, that slots in really nicely here. A vertical pull of your choosing to stretch out your low back and get a little more upper back work. A leg press or hack squat. do these with a deadlift stance to improve your leg drive off the floor. And then you're going to see the core circuit from the deadlift day show up again. Again, just a strong, powerful midsection, helps stabilize everything for the strongman sport. And who doesn't want to have a nice, impressive core while they're at it? Both your squat and your developmental press will actually be trained using this density protocol I'm about to outline. And with both of them, you want to use 90 to 95% of a recent 1 rep max or an estimated 1 rep max. So how it'll work is you have your fixed intensities there, and then you have your time cap and then reps per set. So for example, in week 1, you're going to be doing as many sets of 5 as you can in 15 minutes with 63% of your hypothetical training max in this case. And then every 3 to 5 sets, if you're feeling good, feel free to take a 5 to 10 pound jump. This isn't necessary though. All we're doing here is accumulating a large degree of work in a relatively short amount of time. And you'll see as the weeks go by, intensity slowly ramps up while the amount of reps per set, as well as the total time you get to train, goes down. Every successful wave, you could just add 5 to 20 pounds to the movement if you'd like. I prefer taking small jumps personally, or even rotating out the movement. Either way, this is going to be a great way to train those respective developmental squats and developmental presses to build a lot of muscle mass and a lot of work capacity to help improve your conditioning for strongman sport. All right, final day in our training week here, and this is upper developmental. We're going to start off with a 50 to 70 degree seated incline press. The reason for this variation is if you look at the strongman press, be it the log or the axle, there is a bit of layback. They are not perfectly vertical. So this is going to train you to press with that layback, but without making a bunch of inroads against your low back, because you'll have done a lot of squatting the day before. And you can do this with a barbell, a neutral grip bar if you have access to it, or even on the Smith machine. Alternatively, you could do this with your push press if you have the work capacity for it, or if you're just someone that doesn't want to do a seated press. Something I would do here is I'd actually alternate between the two. I might do 8 weeks of the push press and then 8 weeks of the seated press, depending on whether I'm looking at developing more for the sport of strongman, in which case I'd want to push press, or if I'm in the off season and want to add a little more muscle mass, in which case I'm going to prefer the seated press. After that, we'll move to a supplemental horizontal or incline press of choice. Could be a close grip bench, floor press, dips, dumbbell incline. Then a delt or chest isolation of choice, a row or upper back movement of choice, such as a high pull, biceps and triceps of choice, and then a shrug of choice. Again, if you look at this here, I go over some means and methods for your progressions in terms of the accessory movements. That'll come a little later, and you make sure to screenshot it when we hit that point. Now, for those of you who either prefer or need a more condensed schedule, let's dive into the 3-day variation. In this one that I'm about to line out, the idea here is I tried to balance it evenly between upper and lower body development. If you need a little more upper body, you might consider adjusting it so it biases to have more upper body exercises. Conversely, if you need more lower body development, you might bias it so it has more lower body developmental waves. That being said, when in doubt, just stick to what's already written there and it'll probably treat you pretty darn well. Alrighty, for our full body developmental day, you're going to start with your developmental press. Then you're going to move into your developmental squat. Then after that, you're going to do a vertical pull of your choosing. This is going to help stretch out your low back a little bit before we move into the supplemental hinge, good morning, or RDL of your choice. Then we're going to hit the arms, biceps, and triceps, and then finish off with shrugs. Again, with anything like this, there are going to be compromises made, but I find this is going to be the best overall and most balanced approach to training your full body developmental day in this program. Here are the various accessory progressions you can pick and choose from, lined out, made very simple for you. Screenshot this, or if you're really smart, just head down to the description box below, click the link, and you can get a free copy of this PDF sent to your email. No catch, no third-party advertisers, nothing. Just fill it out. I'll send it to you. Now let's talk a little bit more about event training. With respect to your event training, we've talked about your pressing and your deadlifting. From there, we're going to talk more about your dynamic events, the loading and moving events. In terms of movements that help improve your loading, you're going to be looking at RDLs, snatch grip deadlifts, front squats, chest flies, and cable crossovers, because that helps train the squeeze for something like a sandbag or picking up an Atlas stone off the floor, as well as Zercher good mornings, especially if you do them in such a way that you extend through the knees, hips, and ankles, almost like you're doing a jump over the top without actually leaving the floor, letting the bar come out of your elbows. For moving events, you could do dumbbell or trap bar carries, high rep shrugs without straps, Zercher lunges, Zercher holds, as well as walking lunges, especially if you do these with a short stride. That's going to help improve to your moving aspect. Now, you'll want to pick movements that obviously align with what your upcoming show looks like, and we're going to use a hypothetical example of a show that has a log for reps, a max deadlift, farmer's walk, yoke run, and then stone loading. So we're going to line out a hypothetical 8-week block because you want 10 weeks to prep for a show because you're going to take about a 2-week deload. Your press, you don't have access to a log, so we're going to train the max effort press as a push press on max effort day. And then on developmental day, we're going to use the seated 50 to 70 degree incline press. So we're essentially using a vanilla setup that I have outlined in the program there. For our supplemental presses, we're going to opt for the floor press for tricep overload and then the dumbbell 30 degree incline because that's going to help build the upper chest. So that's going to create a little more purchase for the log to sit on. That's also going to help create more purchase for the Atlas stone to sit on later in the show. Now the deadlift, in weeks 1 through 4, what we're going to do is we're going to run this as a snatch grip deadlift because that's going to help improve your upper back strength and size. That's going to transfer over to stability on the yoke. That's going to transfer over to picking the Atlas stone. It'll also help with the positioning in the farmer's walk. And then after that, weeks 5 to 8, we'll just do the standard deadlift from the floor. The snatch grip is one of the best overall deadlift developers in my opinion because it helps you really learn how to lock in your hip height and positioning as well as forces you to learn how to keep that bar in close and shave those legs. Now, with respect to the farmer's walk here, what I'm going to opt for is the shrug using the 8x8 method with dumbbells, as well as walking lunges. Also, neither of these should be done with straps. That's going to help build your grip in addition to the upper back development we're getting from the snatch grip deadlift in weeks 1 through 4. That'll set you up to be very stable through the midline with the farmer's walk. For the yoke training, we're at the squat. We're going to do that as a deadlift stance box squat because that's going to help reduce back and hip fatigue, and you don't need to squat below parallel in this context because we're just doing this to help build leg and hip strength for the yoke. It's also going to help improve your starting strength in the deadlift, which is never a bad thing. Then last but not least, the stone. The use of chest flies and Zercher good mornings will help train the squeeze as well as triple extension with a front load on them. In the simplest of terms, what you want to think about is what kind of muscularity, what physical attributes can we develop with our exercises to help you get better at the events, right? If you got a reverse sled drag coming up, you should probably be doing a lot of lunges and a lot of leg pressing because you need a lot of leg strength for it. And then using density protocols, rest pause methods, limited rest times, that will help build the conditioning element of that. Honestly, you can't go wrong by simply getting disgustingly strong on every implement and machine you have access to at your local gym. Now here's just a couple anticipated questions we might be getting on this program. Would SGC work if I wanted to build a strongman type physique? Absolutely it would. That said, if we're just purely looking at form rather than function as well, you might hit up my Kenjigit style programs here on the channel. They might work a little better for that application. I don't like the low bar squat in the context of this program because I find that the low back and elbow strain that comes with that style of squat isn't really worth it for general development. That said, if it's a movement that agrees with you and you love it back, no reason to not throw them in. I do have resources available for cardio programming as well on this channel with my Pulse Core ebook. In terms of rests, think 2 to 4 minutes between your sets on compound movements, especially in your max effort. You might take up to 5 minutes depending on how you're feeling between sets 1 and 2. And as far as the controlled eccentric, as I mentioned earlier, it just helps you dial in hip height, get better at cycling reps, and learn how to use that eccentric stretch reflex to power the next rep. Because even if you do come all the way down the deadlift and pause for the floor for just a moment and then kick back up waiting for that up command, think about your bench press. You can't dead bench as much as you can paused bench press because you do store a stretch reflex for a few seconds. That wraps up the program and today's video. Thank you so much for watching along. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to hit me down in the comment section below. And if you'd like to get this program sent to you as a PDF rather than having to save this video, rewatch it, and screenshot everything over and over and over, just hit me down in the description box down below. There's a link there so you can grab your free copy. Again, I offer one-to-one coaching. That's something you'd be interested. And until next time, you folks stay safe, keep getting stronger, and I'll see you in the next video.